Hello, good evening, Ma'am Kizia. Well, oui, right? Okay,
Yes.
can you introduce yourself, ma'am?
Okay. Hello, sir. I am Kesha Milo, and I am a graduate of West Visayas State University, Bachelor of Elementary Education, major in General Education. And as of now, I am a licensed professional teacher, and I am working or currently working at GITC as a teacher there.
Okay, so what are the usual students that you have that you handle?
Oh, I handle Korean students and as well as Japanese and Chinese students.
Okay, so how do you handle the students?
Of course, I need to get to know the learner or the student and influence or inspire.
Okay, inspire.
Yes, inspire them to learn English in a fun way.
So currently we are on pandemic. So how do you use that kind of learning to your students? How do you approach your students? In what way?
Okay, because now we are usually in an online class, right? And we are building ourselves to be used to the technology. And I know being a teacher is difficult because you need to be creative or innovative in making your visual aids, your materials, your lessons, and your studies to be productive in their learning. So in our school or in GITC, we make audiovisual learning. So
Okay.
we talk online, we study online, we use whiteboard, we use also online books.
Okay, that's good.
Okay.
Ma'am, another question in here is what would be the principles of teaching or teaching learning that you commonly apply?
Um, in my own perspective or in my own opinion,
Yes, as a teacher.
yes, as a teacher, um, I think the learner. I focus more on the learner itself because in teaching, I know it's both the teacher and the learner, but in my own case, I focus more on the learner. So I need to understand the learner. I need to know the learner. I need to
Assess the learner
assess
first.
the learner. Yes, of course. And in that thought, I need to create the learning environment for the
On how you
learner.
adjust
Yes, of
your learning
course.
style also.
Yes, yes.
Especially your major is elementary education,
Yes, so I
right?
really need to be creative in imaginative because I need to catch the attention of the students or the learners or the children because they are young. So it's very difficult for us teachers to be to catch their attention.
So have you tried handling elementary students and then a secondary students?
Um, Actually, I just tried or I just experienced elementary students until from the age of 8 to 12 years old.
But currently you have had a lot of students, right, for secondary.
Oh, yes.
Okay, so how do
In
you handle
my
that one? So is there any difference when handling the elementary students and compared to the secondary students?
Yes, there is a big difference because in for elementary students, they are very active. Like they're very playful. So it's very difficult to to pay to pay attention to their listening skills.
Okay.
And yes, but in the secondary, um, it's also difficult, but it's more easy than the elementary students because you can already tell them like, okay, don't do this, don't do that. Listen carefully. If you don't, yes, like that.
Okay, so my next question in here is what would be the instructional materials that you usually use when teaching?
Okay, are you talking about the online or in
Bef-
actual in
I think
teaching?
it's better if you can discuss also um, the past that you have had before, and then the current.
The present.
Yes, yes, the current right now.
Okay. Because when I was in college, we were used to have the student teaching.
Okay.
Yeah. And in the student teaching field, I we were given the opportunity to create our own teaching materials. So we need to be imaginative, like okay, or I need to create this one thing into a productive thing so that it can be a um, in that material that student can learn.
Okay.
Okay.
So,
But in online or now, of course, it's online, so we need to make it in a Zoom, yes,
we have
Zoom
our own, yeah, our
platforms,
own
yes,
platform. You
yes,
can
like
discuss everything.
whiteboards,
Whiteboard.
yes,
It's all e-learning.
yes, all
Even the
technology,
books, right?
yes, even the books.
So, which of the principles in teaching you use to facilitate the cognitive, metacognitive, and the positive motivational processes of learning?
Because that three things that you've mentioned, it's all about.
Continue.
Okay, so that three things that you said is all about, it's talking all about thinking. So, in that thought, it's very important to focus on the delivery. Like, you need to think of ways and how that learner can think on his or her own.
Okay.
In that way, she can learn, like she's thinking this one, and at the same time, she's learning that one. Yes.
Okay. Ma'am, thank you very much for answering that our FS
Okay, sir.
requirements. Okay.
Okay, you're welcome.
Okay, so thank you very much
Okay.
and watch this on YouTube. Also,
Okay.
thank you. Welcome to my YouTube channel, but we'll be discussing about the principles of teaching. Okay, before that, can you introduce yourself to us?
Okay, so good evening, sir. My name is Sharime. I'm a graduate of West Visayas State University. I studied bachelor in elementary education, major in general education,
Okay.
and I'm also a licensed teacher.
Okay, so you graduated what year?
Oh, that was only 2 years ago, maybe 2019.
Okay. Okay, so currently you are employed as a GITC teacher, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so we are on pandemic at the moment. So how do you handle your students?
So I am employed at GITC as a online tutor. So we didn't have this kind of offline interaction with our students. All we did is like teach the students through internet and through with using the Zoom. So basically, it's just teaching the students via internet with the presence of book.
So how do you handle your students of this kind of pandemic at the moment?
So in this kind of situation, we have to, as far as we know, we have to make the the learning very active and enjoyable at the same time, which is also knowledgeable. So we have this kind of routine where we put some games. We include some games during the discussion. At the same time, it's enjoyable and very knowledgeable and helpful in the part of students. So we use these books provided by the school. It's already included in one site where we just have to click it and we will be directed to that books. So it is already set step by step. So from the very basic until to the complex part of learning the English, especially when it comes to grammar. So before teaching the students, we have this rule that we need to do a level test or level diagnostic test to them in order to identify their level and in order to choose if what book it is needed or appropriate for them to use. So through that, we are using that kind of book depends on their level, and yeah, we create some kind of changes in order to make it more good for the level of the kids.
Okay, so what kind of principles, or what type, I mean, of principles of teaching do you usually apply when handling the students,
When
in both
handling
online and offline?
when handling the students, mostly we we need to know first the kind of learning style that they have. And through knowing that kind of learning style, we will be able to figure out if what kind of teaching style we need to employ too. So there are cases where some students only prefer reading or speaking. So we go by their learning style. And there are times that there are students also that doesn't even like reading or talking a lot, so they prefer games. So we also employ teaching styles where they will be able to learn through games.
Okay, so do you assess also the students by knowing their behavior first before giving the class, or what kind of assessment do you follow?
So we have this assessment where we how do I say this? We
Know first the behavior
yeah, we figure out if what kind of
level.
is the student, or how this student behave when it comes to studying and when it comes to playing. Are they prefer studying in a very formal and serious way, or they prefer studying and playing, or they only prefer playing only. So we need to figure that out, because if we will not be able to know their behavior towards studying, we won't be able to employ a good and appropriate kind of teaching to them.
Okay, so how about the instructional material you usually use when teaching? At the time of this pandemic class, right? That we are usually using Zoom application. But before that, before when you were teaching offline, what kind of instructional material do you usually do?
Okay. So before this kind of platform, before the Zoom, we are teaching offline, and we have books that is chosen for the level of the kids. And there are some cases where this kid doesn't even like studying that book. So as a teacher, you have to internalize or create another material in order to engage the student actively when it comes to teaching and learning process. So in my case, sometimes I create some kind of other material, but that kind of material or information from the information that I put inside my material is also information from the book, and I just added some maybe more interesting stuff for the students in order to make them more attentive.
Okay, so how do you use the learning styles when it comes to knowing the cognitive, metacognitive, the approach of the students itself?
Okay,
How?
so with the book, there are different activities, and those activities, they provide activities for developing the cognitive, the metacognitive, and other skills other skills with the students. So it's sometimes it is not present, so we have to create an alternative where we need to develop some of the skills, because there are cases where where the book only develops the speaking skills or maybe the critical thinking skills. So some of the comprehension skills will not be able to develop. So as a teacher, we have to find an alternative. So in that way, we create another learning material for the comprehension skills of the student to be developed more in order for all the skills to be balanced.
Okay, thank you very much, Miss Shari Calisterio. Okay,
Thank you,
ma'am.
sir.
Thank you.
Okay.
Hello, good evening. Can you please introduce yourself?
Hello, my name is Kimarayan Francisco, a licensed professional teacher and currently working as English as a second language teacher.
Okay, so, sir, what university you have had graduated?
I graduated my bachelor's degree at West Visayas State University, Calinog,
What year, sir?
in the year 2018.
2018. Okay, so the same year also, together with those teachers I have had interviewed.
Yes, maybe.
Okay, so how long have you been teaching in GIDC?
For almost 1 year.
For almost 1 year. Okay, and do you have any experience teaching Filipino students?
Yes, I had before, like my internship at Carvasana Elementary School, and it was for about 3 months practicing like my teaching strategies and methodologies on how to handle kids inside the classroom.
So, what principles in teaching or learning you have had commonly applied?
In my case, the principles of teaching I commonly apply is that um, positive, motivational process of learning, because in that way I can give reinforcement to students and give rewards to them, and so that they will be motivated to do more about themselves and they can be confident to what they want to do inside of the classroom activities, and they will be more engaging in the class if there is a reward or reinforcement or a positive feedback about them.
So, are you the one assessing the student?
Yes, sometimes I'm assessing the students by giving them tests traditionally, or by giving recitation questions.
Okay. So, what instructional materials do you usually use in teaching?
Yes, as a 21st century teacher, the instructional materials that I usually use is that a presentation. Like, I will show to them the PowerPoint presentation, then I will ask some questions like that.
Okay. So, in getting the PowerPoint presentation, like say for example, right now we are on pandemic, right? So you are using Zoom
Yes.
as your platform in
Platform.
teaching. Okay. So, which of the principles of teaching which of the principles of teaching I mean you use to facilitate the cognitive, metacognitive, and the positive motivational processes of learning?
Yes, as I know, cognitive process of learning is somehow like kind of more on experience and problem solving. It helps students to think further like that. Like if there is a certain problem, they will find a solution for that. And for the metacognitive, it's more on application, more like for example in computer is that in order for the student to know how to manipulate computer well, is that as a teacher you will make them be on hands on working with a computer so that they will be good in working on it. And the last one is the positive motivational process of learning, which is what I've said is reinforcement or giving rewards to students in order for them to be encouraged to study well.
You give rewards.
Rewards, if not
Okay.
rewards, motivational words
Let's
like praising words like very good, excellent, like that.
you did it like that.
Yes.
Okay, so was it difficult to teach international students or compared to Filipino students?
Yeah, I think both have differences, because you're teaching Filipino kids is like it's a whole classroom. So in order for you to become a good teacher, in order for the students to listen to you, is that you will manage the classroom well and encourage students to listen to you well and motivate them very well. But in the case of international students, is that you will just focus only in one language. More specifically, they are learning about grammar, and it's very hard for me to teach international students because some of them are beginners in learning the language.
So how do you use learning approach? Let's say, for example, like the books.
Some for Filipinos books, I give some activity so that the learning is something like engaging. But for international students, mostly I do free talking so that they can express their themselves.
Okay, that's good. And for example, if let's say, for example, in in the Philippines, right, we are using um, the textbook, a common textbook, like I forgot the name of that textbook, Rex textbook, right? Rex
Yeah,
book,
yeah.
right? So once you have read what is the approach inside that book, for example, in one subject on one learning, do you add some topics aside from that, or do you
Follow the book.
yes, sometimes we have to follow the books, right?
Yeah.
But do you add some details?
Yes, so that because sometimes books are not detailed enough, like we teachers make our own lesson plan in
Mm-hmm.
before having our classes. So if we have also already the plan is that we're not only sticking on the book that we are reading or we are teaching, but sometimes we add on more and more activities so that learning is more engaging.
Okay, so thank you very much, Sir Cam, and you gave a lot of information on this matter. Okay,
Thank you.
okay, thank you. Bye bye.
Bye.